in your wall.
Yeah, and so would it be nice to have an athlete on the front line and a wing? Yeah. In a perfect world, they go get Trey Murphy and Daniel Gafford. They do have the ability to match the contracts for both of those. That plugs two holes. Now I feel really good about the rotation. God forbid they do that.
That's going to cost you 3 first-round picks, buddy. Not allowed.
I've been thinking about it more so. I'm curious your opinion. Would you rather give up 2 firsts for MPJ, who apparently they're not interested? Can I just say one thing? I don't buy that they're not talking to teams. I do buy that they will not pull a deal off, but I don't buy that they're like not pursuing these players. This feels like lame leveraging, but let me put that aside. Would you rather get MPJ, who is rumored to cost 2 firsts, or Trey Murphy, who's rumored to cost 3 and will assuredly cost you like 2032? So in other words, like, look, 2028's like Steph's turning 40. 2032, I promise you he's not playing. That's for sure a post-Steph pick.
Maybe not. You never know. Maybe he's Tom Brady. Okay, first of all, and I will answer the question. What will you do if they don't pull off a trade by the deadline? Now, there was and I don't know if anybody knows this, there was a Carolina Panthers podcast who stopped podcasting after week 4 or 5.
I saw that.
Yep, Meow Mix. They stopped podcasting after week 4 or 5 because they were so bad. Are we taking light years off the air if they don't pull off a Kuminga trade by February?
No, 5th? I'm not taking light years off the air, but I will. The tone will change. I'm being very charitable to Kirk. I'm being very charitable to Mike. Being very charitable to Joe. I'm being very charitable to Fatoki, Chuck Hayes. I just keep naming the front office guys. I haven't liked the way they've operated over the last couple of years, to be honest with you. But the reality is they did what they did over the summer to have this optionality at the deadline. All right, I'll give you to the deadline. I will give you to, even though I would prefer it to have been today, I will give you till the deadline to get it done. So that's where I'm at mentally with it.
Okay, that's totally fair. I'm in the same spot. After the deadline, then we got to talk.
They lose the next game. I'm gonna be fucking frustrated. Like, what the fuck, guys? But anyway, put that aside.
We'll talk about storming Chase if they don't pull off something by the deadline.
Yeah.
But back to the MPJ or Trey thing. So it's MPJ for 2 firsts or Trey for 3. I think where I land on this in like kind of a more big picture sense, I do think MPJ is probably more helpful in the short term. And I'm talking about the next 18 months in a way. I think the way if he continues like the same form that he's played in with Brooklyn this year, and he can bring, because at the end, I've heard some people question the fit over the last 12 to 24 hours. I've heard some people question whether he's worth the money. That is it. If that is not a smokescreen coming from the Warriors organization because they're trying to lower the price, they are way fucking dumber than we thought they were. There is not a more hand-in-glove fit offensively than Michael Porter Jr. He is Klay Thompson with a tiny bit of Kevin Durant mixed in there. So he's going to hold the ball a little bit more than Klay. But people forget Klay did hold the ball sometimes. Like, he would get into the post and he'd take a couple of dribbles. He'd kind of stare at the defense for too long, and then he'd make the most ridiculous shot you've ever seen. So I think in the short term, MPJ is more helpful. And if I'm thinking about it, I'm kind of concerned about the next 18 months way more than I am the next 40 months, 48 months. I think Trey is more helpful in that sense. He's on a better contract. I think culturally, just he's a better fit. I think he's somebody that's willing to come in and fit in any situation. He doesn't have as many opinions. You're not going to get Trey Murphy on a podcast talking about gay son or thought daughter. Like, these are things that are not going to happen with Trey Murphy. And I had to say it. MPJ, he might say some things that are going to piss guys not necessarily guys in the locker room, but it might piss management off. It might make Steve Kerr feel uncomfortable. But that dude is one of the
Steve can feel uncomfortable for 40 points on 20 shots.
He didn't think he was going to like Jimmy either. And Jimmy and MPJ are way different personalities. But at the end of the day, MPJ is probably one of the 15 to 20 best scorers in the NBA right now, and that might be underplaying it. That guy.
So I'm going to actually disagree with you on this one, and I love MPJ. He's one of my favorite players leading the bandwagon. I think Trey helps them more in the short term and the long term.
Really?
And my argument for it is Trey has far more defensive upside than MPJ. And what we're really talking about is a guy who's going to slot in as a third option offensively, with some nights being a second option. Mm-hmm. But what they're going to really be asked to do is fill all the gaps. What we're looking for is a guy who can do what Moses Moody does, but at a higher level.
Sure.
We are looking for what Klay Thompson was. We're looking for Chris Bosh. We're looking for one of these guys where you're just like, they're comfortable and effective as a third option, but then they have the offensive juice to raise their game when it's needed to. And that's hard to find. That's really hard to find. MPJ is undoubtedly the better offensive player of the two. I might argue he's a top 10 offensive player in the league, period.
He's ridiculous.
Like there is no upper limit to the amount of bad shots he can take that will affect his efficiency. He is in that, like, he's not Steph, because that's insane, but he is kind of in that Clay. I'll throw Lowry in there. I might even throw like Dirk as like an X guy, where it's just like you give him the ball at their spot. Like, dude, they might have a bad shooting night, but I promise you over the course of a season, it's going in efficiently. There's no like actual defending it.
Out of the top 10 guys in the league right now who have taken the most tightly contested shots, so 0 to 2 feet. Mm-hmm. It's a stat that was running around Twitter the other day. MPJ has taken, like, I think almost double more than like that guy who's in second place, and he's shooting 40% on those looks. And I think that's from 3, mind you. Nobody else is shooting above, besides Steph. Nobody else is shooting above like 38%. He is that level of shot maker. Like, when we say that he is Klay Thompson offensively, that is not a fucking exaggeration. He is that offensively. Now, there's other issues with him, but offensively, he will bring exactly what Klay brought for the most part. There might be some differences, but he is there. And I don't think there's not a doubt about that in my mind.
And so would I like him on the Warriors? Of course. He would really help the team, but I keep coming back to this. If it's a perfect world and I have to think about it through like more, I want the guy who's more athletic. I want the guy who's a lob threat while also being a shooting threat. That's the fair. Guy who is in a dunk contest. You're telling me I have Trey Murphy and DeAnthony Melton. Now I feel good about my athleticism with the older core. Whereas MPJ, look, he's got the size, and that matters, and that helps no matter what. But they're going to be slow, man. They're going to be slow defensively with MPJ, Jimmy, and Draymond out there. And they might be able to overcome it just on the combination of skill, IQ, and dog. But I don't know. Like, I keep coming back to it. At first, I was like, man, I don't know about trading all those post-Steph picks for Trey Murphy. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, if they're really willing to give them to you for 3 picks, one of which, by the way, will for sure be this year's pick,
yes,
which is a throwaway, you're talking about 2 picks. And look, if you bottom out and you give the other team the first pick, there's no doubt about it, you screwed up. You know, that sucks. But even if you give a team the 4th pick in the draft, the 4th pick in the draft is probably not as good as Trey Murphy in most years. This is a great draft, by the way, the one that just happened. Let's walk through the top 4 picks. Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, VJ Edgecombe, Con Kneppel. I would love everyone. They're all dudes.
Incredible.
I'm not convinced outside of Cooper Flagg, any of those dudes are that far better than what Trey Murphy will be. They may end up better than him. But you're talking about, like, there's this idea that you give up the 3rd pick, you're getting Michael Jordan. No, like, because MJ was the 3rd pick. It's like, great. Giannis was the 15th pick. That doesn't mean every 15th pick is Giannis. You know what I mean? Like, forget who they selected. What I'm saying is on the Warriors, he's a guaranteed all-star, and he might be an all-star outside of the Warriors this year anyway.
Sure.
You're talking about a guy who's 25 to 30. He's going to be an all-star the next 5 years. He plays the most valuable position in basketball right now, which is an actual 2-way wing. Yeah, I guess you always run the risk that, like, Darren Peterson or like the next Wemby comes along. But like in general, if you have a guy like that, you're pretty happy with exchanging like the 3rd to 6th pick in a draft for him.
There is, number one, there's another draft every year. There's another pick the next, okay, so here's where with Trey, I'm pretty damn comfortable giving 2 unprotecteds this year in 2028. I'd prefer the 3rd to be a swap. Preferred it. But if they have to give up a 3rd and it's lightly protected, totally fine with that as well. I do think Trey's defense is a little bit overrated. And I think some of
it is, but I think I don't think he has Andrew Wiggins 2022 upside, because that's unfair. But like he has all the tools. He clearly is a smart, team-oriented player. Like, just get him in a good system, and everyone's going to be talking about how he's an all NBA caliber defender.
Right. Now if he's an average defender right now with, the impact waxes and wanes, I think on the Warriors at the very least he is. I think at the very, very least he is a solid wing defender, and if you can really. He doesn't have as much offensive responsibility because Steph and Jimmy are handling most of the playmaking, and he's just kind of a secondary guy in terms of like the creation stuff off of them. He's shooting open threes. He's attacking closeouts. He does some of his own self-creation. There's more energy for defense. This is how it always works. Part of the reason that Wiggins' defense improved, obviously there's culture there. Draymond's, got his foot up his ass the entire time. But a lot of it was Wiggins isn't creating everything for Minnesota anymore. He can focus on, I only need to score 16 points tonight. I can go get 12 rebounds. I could go just worry about guarding Jason Tatum. And the last thing I'll say on Trey is last 10 games, 28.5, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 53% from the field, 41% from 3. If you don't think that's worth 3, and like you said, good enough defensively at the very least and maybe better, if you don't think that's worth 3 first round
and he's
picks,
25.
And he's 25 and he's on a great contract. He's got 3 or 4 more years left at about 25 to 30 mil a year. You're not going to find a better contract for the guy that's producing like he is. If you don't think that's worth 3 first round picks, you're out of your fucking mind. With the state that the Warriors are currently in, where they're trying to contend supposedly over the next couple of years, that player is easily worth 3 first round picks.
It's really if you're just willing to accept the fact that in 2032, when everyone's gone, you don't have a pick. That's really what it comes out. Are you willing to put that like handcuff on your rebuild? That's really all it comes down to. And to be honest, they haven't shown me that they're willing to. And honestly, I understand it philosophically. I'm not suggesting you just throw the stuff away, but the more I think about Trey Murphy, the more I'm like, yeah, do it, dude. He's worth it. He's above my line. You know what I mean? Like, we all have a line. Like, they clearly weren't willing to do that for Cam Johnson. Right. Annoying, but I get it. Trey's a lot better than Cam Johnson. How many wings are there in the NBA who can shoot the way he does, function offensively as an off-ball player, giving you a consistent 20 points, probably second, third option on a real team, and also factor in defensively the way he does, like a true two-way, like Knight of Klay. Like, these are all like Klay Thompson. Klay is kind of that guy. I think there's like 5 of them in the total league. Maybe
they're malleable wings. There are certain guys in the NBA where they need a certain amount of touches to score as much as they do. And MPJ is a little bit more like that than Trey. Trey's not like that at all. He can function as a fully off-ball guy or a fully on-ball guy. And the efficiency might dip a little bit when he's on ball, but it doesn't seem to, at least not with the Pelicans right now. I mean, and the thing is, you can say, oh, that 2032 pick is risky, even if it's unprotected. And I agree it is. But if you trade 2026, 2028, 2032, you still have 2029, 2030, 2031, 2023, those picks aren't going anywhere. If you don't trust yourself to make a good pick in the first round when you're bad between 2029 and 2031, that says more about you as an organization than it does about anything else.
And all I hear about is how they owe it to Steph to go for it. Take a risk, dude. I agree with you. If it's going to take giving all of your picks to get him, that maybe that's too much. But if you're really talking about tying up the next 2 years, 3 years, plus throwing one pick 7 years down the road, get it done. Get it done. Like he crosses my line. I also just like you start. Do you do the thing I do, which is you just start looking at every team's roster, wondering if you've forgotten about someone, wondering like, is there something out there that I haven't thought about? And I've done that a lot, way too much, more than I should publicly admit. And I keep coming back to this. It's like, no, he's not